Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Path Forward at 6 with Cassandra Williamson. That's me, if you didn't know that already. Hey, we've got a lot to talk about today, and I hope I can get through all of it. But if you haven't already done so, please take a moment to subscribe to the newsletter at the bottom. You can see the link to it there. You may have to type it into your browser to find it, but you can subscribe to it there. That way you can receive my updates. I send them out every day, basically, except on the weekend. I'm not going to do it anymore on the weekends. Yes, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and I got a short period of time to talk about it in. Okay, first thing I want to talk about this special operator in the U.S. Army, a sergeant who was pulled out of the field recently and ordered back to the United States, pulled away from a mission and sent back to the United States. And what they did was they took this soldier and they said, okay, we've got this flight arranged for you. We're going to fly you out. But this person didn't request any kind of special leave. That's what it was. It was an emergency leave situation. But the soldier didn't request emergency leave. So the soldier's out on a special operations mission. That this person is a special ops medical person and was out in the field, out there doing the work on the mission. Okay. So an emergency leave situation was created for them. They were ordered back to the United States. And then once this soldier started talking with their leadership and their command, they found out that, hey, they're being ordered back there because, they're going on leave between the 5th of March and the 10th of March, which is this period we're in right now, and that they would be out processed out of the Army by March 26th. Now, let me tell you something. This is a good soldier, someone who's out in the field doing their job, and they've been ordered back. You know, the only reason that person was pulled out of the job that they were doing and been doing well is because they're trans. She's a trans soldier, folks. That's the only reason. And that has got to be the most disgusting and harmful thing you could do to any operation is pull the medical professional out of the field, okay? Why? Because your ideology doesn't allow you to accept the fact that transgender people exist in this country and the world, okay, and have forever. But you pull a special operations soldier out of the field just because your stinking ideology says you got to do so. I'm going to tell you, that is the height of stupidity and the height of ridiculousness, okay? It really just gets under my skin. But this is not the only highly skilled soldier or person, whether in the Navy or the Air Force or the Army or Coast Guard or Space Force. There are numerous highly qualified people that the government has spent many, many, many millions of dollars on training, like Commander Emily Schilling, a fighter pilot. Removing her. Why? Not because she's not qualified to do the job. No, because she's trans. So they're removing these people for that. That just pisses me off because I know that Emily is, and I've met Emily. She's a great person. I love her to death, and I love her to the fact that she's standing up and being bold about this and fighting, okay, for her right to exist, right to do the job that she is highly qualified to do. But, the current administration just doesn't happen to like the fact that you're trans. Bullshit. Sorry. No, I'm not. It just pisses me off. I hope you all know that because, man, this is crazy. And this soldier, this special ops soldier, being pulled out of the field, Emily Schilling being fired too because of all this crap. My other friend, my good friend who is Bree Fram, a commander, a colonel in the Space Force. I'm going to tell you something. You're firing people who are highly qualified, and the only reason you're firing them is because, well, your ideology just tells you that that's the only, you can't have those people around. They are a disruption. No, they're not. They're doing their job well. They're doing it honorably. They're serving their country. They're doing exactly what they've always wanted to do, and they're doing it for the sake of the country. But yet, an ideology is forcing them out. And that's all it is. That's all it is. It just gets under my freaking skin, okay? I know you can probably tell that, but if you're watching, put a comment down there in the chat box if you want to. Yeah, so, geez, oh my God. Next topic I want to talk about, I'm just going through some of these things really quickly. Okay, the next thing on the list, Musk and Trump are wanting to privatize the VA. Now, they're not saying that outright just yet, and we know that they are. There's been talk about that for years. But how are they going to do it this time, though? What they're going to do is make the VA so inefficient that the only thing left is to privatize it. They don't care about whether you go out in the community and use the VA at all. They want to make sure that somebody gets their hands in on this stuff and makes some money from it. That's what they want. The people with the money want to be able to make more money. So if you privatize all the medical care and all the psychological care in the VA, then guess what happens? Well, somebody's going to pick up all that stuff and make money on it and charge us more. And the service will be less. The quality of that service will be subpar at best. We know that. There's not a civilian medical facility in this country who knows how to address combat wounds as well as the VA does, or combat issues as well as the VA does, or any kind of traumatic event in the lives of our veterans, any of those things. The VA is the best at it. You know where where most of these organizations will send their professionals like psychologists and medical doctors to get training, to intern at, and the VA. Go to the VA because they're the best. PTSD training and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of the PTSD stuff, I just read a news story today that said that they're looking at cutting 585 programs, research programs or whatever in the VA. You know what that amounts to? And they listed some of those things. One of them was defunding the PTSD Institute that the VA has, the National PTSD Research Facility. Defund all of that. That cuts off the research for that. That stymies all the new ideas and new thinking that goes into PTSD care. Many of us have PTSD. I do, but not from combat. From a sexual assault, long time ago. Okay, long time ago, 78 to be exact, 1978. But anyway, so they're looking at tearing this VA thing apart, defunding all of the elements within it. Some of those things, some of those 585 were the training and certification requirements needed to make the radiology departments certified and meet national standards. Because, you know, if you could decertify those things, you don't have to deal with that. Guess what happens? Those facilities have to close because those facilities need a radiology department, right? Yes, that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing that in spades. They're trying to cut it all. And if they can destabilize the VA enough to make people pissed at it, then maybe they can persuade you to think that the VA is no longer needed. Well, it's needed, folks. It's needed. There's no one out there who can do what the VA does as well as they do it. Yes, there are problems, but the last survey that I saw, the customer satisfaction survey that I saw, put it about 85% satisfied with VA care. Yes, there's 15% that aren't satisfied. But I played the case that many of those people are never satisfied with anything. And yes, sometimes there are legitimate concerns. There are legitimate concerns that people are worried about and things that do happen to people that are wrong within the VA system. I've got friends who've been there, done that, and they can tell you stories left, right, and up and down about what had happened to them within the VA medical care system. But, you know, those are few and far between. Even for transgender people and LGBTQ plus people in this country who happen to be veterans, the VA had a long way to go, but they were definitely on the right path of being able to acknowledge and accept the fact that we exist, that you're not going to shove us away and hide us. No, you're not. Yeah, well, here's another one for you. Okay, exactly what let me see what Junior Childers had to say. I'll come back to it in a minute, Junior. I want to bring that up. I already did. Okay, there it is. Put it in his memo from VA, although he sugar-coated it, as he pointed out earlier, as you pointed out earlier, that's just wrong what they're doing to the vets. Yes, it is. It's extremely wrong what they're doing to the vets, the veterans, and they don't care. They really don't care. And that may surprise you because they keep saying how much they do care, but no, they really don't care. Maybe you'll get that at some point. Maybe you'll see it. I don't know. I hope you'll see it. So where does that leave us right now, though? See, there are a lot of stuff going on in this country. So let me go pull up some headlines, and I'm just going to go through some things. Pull up the right thing. All right, so we already talked about, I got headlines across the tab up here on my Microsoft account. The NBC just talked about that one, talks plans to revoke. Okay, here's another thing. I wanted to point this out too, because this falls in line with what I've been talking about with Ukraine and its position and why it's important beyond just getting rare earths, rare earth minerals. Access to those has been far more important for far longer than anyone acknowledges today, because we're also myopic on a lot of things. But anyway, Trump plans to revoke the legal status of 240,000 Ukrainians. Really? People who fled the war to come over here, bring their families over here to get away from that war, and you're going to send them back in there. Trump's just a jerk. I'll go ahead and say it out loud. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is a story that's on Business Insider today. Oh, Russia's former president said Moscow's main goal is inflicting maximum damage on Ukraine as the U.S. pauses weapons aid. Of course it is. That goes without saying. We know that to be the case. That's the headline on that particular story over on Business Insider. Okay. I'm just looking at my headlines here because I want to go through and make sure I cover a few things I found of interest. Okay, so let's go back to talking about some LGBTQ plus people. Okay, I already mentioned the stuff about the soldiers out in the field and how disgusting that really is and how angry that makes me. But oh goodness, yes, I've been accused of being that angry lady. Well, I can say it with a smile on my face and then have a lot of resentment and behind those eyes, because yes, it's craziness what they are doing to our military, to our veterans, period. But here's one for you. Maybe this will lighten you up a little bit. Elon Musk and the text, this is from The Guardian. Elon Musk, about an hour or so ago, maybe a little longer. Elon Musk and Texas governor celebrate the firing of a worker over pronouns and email signature. That worker was trying to show the community that they are a place, they are a person they can go to because, you know, they understand and at least can listen to them and hear their stories. Well, they refused to remove those pronouns from their email signature. And so Texas governor fired, and Elon Musk applauded him. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I happen to like a lot of the stuff that Elon is doing, not with the cuts across the federal government. Yes, some of them need to be done. But I do happen to like his plans for going to the moon and Mars and all this stuff, because I think that's where we need to be focused in order to actually, humankind has to have something to look forward to that we're pushing toward, that challenges us. And those things do that, especially when you start building commercial properties on all these places, because, you know, that's who we are, right? Okay. All right. So I already talked about the trans soldier. Far right campaign sinks. All right. Here's one for you. There's a campaign going on across the country right now. It's from the organization doing it is Mass Resistance. They've been around in various forms since 1995. They have been opposed to gay marriage and all kinds of stuff that has to do with LGBT people based on their religious perspectives. Yes. That's exactly what this is. When you look up Mass Resistance, it was founded in Massachusetts, 1995, under another name, but it's morphed into a bigger organization that's just been pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding on state legislatures to issue statements that can make it to the Supreme Court, or at least try to encourage the states to push something to the Supreme Court to overturn marriage equality, to overturn the ruling by the Supreme Court in 2015, I think it was. Anyway, so the Obergefell and Hodges ruling, they want to turn that over, overturn it, and, you know, undo it. because they don't think that people ought to be able to do that. And obviously it hurts their little low feelings because there's two people out there love each other who don't happen to look like, sound like, believe like, love like them. They're pushing it. There's 5 states that's already signed up to this thing. And this is from the right side, obviously. It's from the far right conservative side of things that they're out here pushing for that. Mass resistance. You can find them. We can do a mass resistance on them. There's more of us than them, I think. I'm talking about Americans who do not believe that what they're doing is right. Okay, so that's that one. So let me close this down, but there's one final big topic that I happen to know is coming up tonight on Laura Ingram's show. It's been mentioned over the past day or so, yesterday, I believe. But there was a study. Let me go back over here to get my chat box out of the way, get this up here, show this. All right, so here, Texas-based researchers claim post-operative transgender people have twice the depression rate over those who do not have surgeries. Now, what did they do in this study? The very first thing they said was that these things are, the study was based on, one of their strengths is the fact that this study didn't interview people and didn't talk to trans people. They actually used the electronic health records and data like that that could be found when they use the International Classification of Diseases, the ICD-10 codes, go in and look for transgender people in medical records across the country. And there's a data set out there that they can pull all this from and specialize it, streamline it, make it to what they want to look for certain ICD codes within those and records. And obviously it's anonymous, you would think, but you hope. But they've done this. They pulled all this together. They got 107,000 records. They looked at people from 2014 to 2024. And over that 10-year period of time, they looked at the records to see if someone was happy or depressed, or if they had suicidal ideation that increased after the surgeries. That was their thing. They wanted to find out if post-operative transgender people were happier once the procedures were completed. Personally, yeah. But it's not just personally though either, is it? Let me try to show you something here. I'm going to share a screen and we're going to take a look at something. I just wrote it. You should have received an email about it. Okay, maybe you did. Let me see a window. Calling balls and strikes. That's window. Where is it? Oh, I have to put up this. Looks like nope. Well, Chrome tab. Balls and strikes. There it is. Okay, share. All right, so this afternoon I sent out this email. Sometime today I sent out this email. It's it shows on here. It says calling balls and strikes. It can piss people off. I know that. I'm going to be calling out if somebody in our community is doing something stupid and asinine. I'm going to call them out. Point it out to them. That's calling balls and strikes. Okay, if you're wrong, I'll point it out. If I'm wrong, I'll point it out. Or you can let me know. Whatever. But so in this article on my website, here's that study published on the 25th of February of 2025. Let me see if I can blow up that page a bit, increase the size of it. Maybe you can read it better if you're looking at it. It says, here's the thing about that study. Not a single post-operative transgender American was surveyed in this study, yet they attack the well-being of transgender Americans. They call that their strength, folks. They say that is their strength of this study is that they don't have to talk to people. Really? Wow. That's amazing. Because if you go down through here, I'm with these highlighted sections, the big ones with the quotations around them. This is from the actual study, okay? It says, this retrospective study utilizes the TriNetX database, analyzing U.S. patients aged 18 and up with gender dysphoria, using the ICD-10, and the code for what they're looking for is the F64 code, between June of 2014 and June of 2024, a 10-year period of time, folks. The study stated results from the 107,583 patients. Matched cohorts demonstrated that those undergoing surgery were at significantly higher risk for depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, and substance use disorders than those without surgery. You know what they're doing? You know why they're putting this study out there? Because they want to stop any and all gender affirming surgeries for anyone in the country. Anyone. You think it was about the kids? It's never been just about the kids. Kids were just something that they could rile up people about. But once they got everybody riled up about the kids, then the next step is taking this one. And then the study listed their strengths and limitations this way. By leveraging ICD-10 codes, we provide a more accurate representation of patient demographics and clinical outcomes, minimizing recall and reporting biases that often limit survey-based research. Limitations include the inability to account for unmeasured confounders such as social supports. Well, if you'd done that, you'd had a totally different outcome. Anyway, so that was a strikeout on the part of all those Texas researchers. Every one of the researchers on this thing, every one of the doctors and researchers who conducted this study are all based in Texas. Every single one of them. You can take that with whatever grain of salt you want, but yeah, that speaks volumes in and of itself. Wonder and paid for it. All right, so let's go down here and look at one thing that kind of repudiates that, okay? The 2022 U.S. Trans Survey did actual, it's an actual survey of transgender or non-binary Americans. The survey reported that 92,329 transgender non-binary Americans responded to the survey. It represents people from all 50 states, our U.S. territories, and from military bases around the world. That's what I read in the thing today, and that's what's in the little page. It's on 18 Early Insights Report from 2022 U.S. Trans Survey. I posted a link on here. Go over to the website and find it. You can find it right there. There's a link. Do it. Okay, so the USTS Early Insights states that nearly all respondents, 97%, who had at least one form of surgery for their gender identity transition, reported that they were either a lot more satisfied, that's 88%, or a little more satisfied, 9%, with their lives. 1% reported that surgery made them neither more or less satisfied with their lives, and less than 1% were a little less satisfied, and 1% were a lot less satisfied with their life after surgery. Okay, normal rates of rejection or whatever, but for the surgeries. Okay, normal, nothing wrong with that at all in any given population. But 97% are happy with it. Out of 92,000 people, trans people, and non-binary Americans who responded to this thing, okay, 97%. Now, here you go. I actually put a picture of this on the screen there. Hopefully you can see it. Life satisfaction after gender affirming surgery, that breaks down: more satisfied, little satisfied, none, whatever. And that image, I have to give credit to it, it's for the U.S. Transgender Survey, National Center for Transgender Equality. They've changed their name now, but it was under that name when they did this. And it gives the people who did this part on page 18. All right. Also from that survey, Early Insights Report on page 17, just above that one, a satisfaction with transitioning gender with or without surgeries. Nearly all respondents, 94%, who lived at least some of the time in a different gender other than the one they were assigned at birth, reported that they were either a lot more satisfied or a little more satisfied. Okay, there's the graph for that one too. It's in that Early Insights Report. All right, so I just wanted to point that out. Whenever you hear people talking about that, tell them that actual surveys of the people involved in this proves them wrong. You can look at all that data all you want. You can pull up all the ICD-10 codes that you want, starting with F64. You can pull them all up and do anything you want with that data. But when you talk to actual people, it's totally different. Does not align at all. 97% are happy with it. 97% out of 92,000 transgender and non-binary Americans. Why would anyone keep pushing or push this over the next 2 days, or well, over the last 2 days? And Laura Ingraham is going to have it on tonight. She's going to be talking about this study tonight on her Fox News program, on Laura Ingram's show, whatever she calls that thing. I just saw that promoted during the 5. Yeah, I keep track of Fox because that's where you hear all the bullshit. I don't even watch the other news because they're also weak. So I kind of, I've got to go look for the things that are constantly attacking Americans, veterans, people who are out buying eggs. And by the way, I went out today and actually bought an 18 count of eggs. I'm trying to find my little receipt. I've got the receipt right here somewhere. Do you know how much that 18 count of large, extra large eggs costs me today when I bought that thing? It was $9.22. Yeah, I know that bird flu is the primary driver for that, but I think it's ironic that that was the thing that sold everybody on Trump. Let me stop sharing because I need to get back to where you are. Okay, so thank you for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. We've been at it 26 minutes. I'm trying to keep all these things under 30 minutes, which I'm succeeding in doing so far. So let me just put up here. This is what Junia Childers. Junia is an awesome person. She lives down in Alabama. I absolutely love her to death. Personally, I think that Elon Musk wants to ship all of us poor people and veterans off to Mars. I'd go. So I'm not for it unless they're sending him and a billionaire class there. Yeah, I'd still go. But I'll tell you something, it's that group of people, the billionaire class and the wealthy people and the explorers in our nation, who would actually be the ones to do it. They'd go there, set up base. You'd have, little enclaves of people there, just like we did in colonial America. Okay. It actually would be one of the biggest ways you could keep progress moving forward in the whole world, really. Okay, so Junia also says, imagine that trans people are happier when bigots aren't trying to control their lives. Yep. Well said. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, for everyone else watching, and Junia, thank you, and all of that. I don't know who's here. Junia is the only one to reply today, but I know that there's several out here watching. So thank you, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 6, Friday at 6. Same